So, why don't I do that? Barbuta. Let's do a little bit of Barbuta. So, what I have been able to figure out, obviously, on the right side you have the eggs, which are your lives. On the left side you have the 8 item slots and cash, and then at the bottom is a grid that shows where you are in relation to what is called the Red Skull. But keep in mind that this is mimicking a game, that this is mimicking like the early 1980s type video games. So you're supposed to really have no idea what you're doing and what the goal is and stuff like that. So here is what I have been able to figure out. And once I start doing this, you'll be like, holy crap. Like, how did anybody figure this stuff out? At least that's how I felt. So these green things are apparently called fish. At least that's what all the, like, guides refer to them as. Oops. And I've got these, like, acid drops coming on top of me. So, if I go this way, there's an umbrella. And the umbrella blocks the acid drips. And that lets me come up to this chest, and now I get cash. See, now I have 50 cash. So now what I can do is I can go down here. But yeah, no, this is, well, once I realized what this game was, what this game was, and, like, what it was mimicking in, like, the gameplay style, it wasn't so bad, purely because, like, I grew up with these kinds of games, and it's not, like, I'm used to the gameplay style, if you will. So now I've got 150 cash. Whoops. It's fine. I keep forgetting you have to be most of the way off of the block before you jump. Oops. I died to the bat. But it's fine. Don't worry about it. We're good. We're gonna go up here. And we're gonna go over here. Now, you see, normally you would think that jumping into the acid pools would be a bad thing. But the way that the way that old-time games like this work is that if something is even slightly different, that is a major sign. Such as that. And now I have the necklace. Now that we have the necklace, I can promptly die to this bat here. And I have to remember where I need to go from here. I think, I continue to the left. So the idea is that you're not supposed to be able to get through this game on your first try ever. You know, you're supposed to play the game. You're supposed to figure out the little secrets, the little tricks, and eventually figure out how to get through it. A thing with the old 1980s style video games, or I should say the thing with old 1980s video games, is that they were designed with the idea that they barely had any, like, cartridge space. And so instead of... Yeah, that's also why it's, like, the first game on the list. So instead of being designed for, you know, you to sit down and play and, you know, just get through, they were designed for you to, you know, play 4 or 5, you know, well, not 4 or 5, but way more times to get through everything, you know? Like, the expectation was that you were going to die and die and die and die and die until finally you got through the game. And this does mimic that really well, I will say. Now you see I've killed everything, so the skull turns into a gem, and I get more cash. Now I can come in here and talk to this guy to buy some stuff, but I don't need, well, I don't need to buy the trash. It's literally trash. But I do need to buy this pin. So I need to come in here and I need to get this pin from this guy so that we can continue onward this way. But yeah, now the idea is, the very idea of this game is supposed to be that you have, no direction, no real idea of what you're doing, and you're supposed to just sit here and go through each thing until you figure it out. And that was the way that old 1980s games were. They sucked. Don't get me wrong, I'm not advocating for this style of play. You know, it sucked. But this is how these, like, types of games were back then. So, now obviously the one unfortunate part is that you have 6 lives, and if you use them all up, you start over, and there's no, like, sort of, you know, save system or anything. And so, you know, I've lost all of my items. These freaking fish take 2 hits. And I always end up coming down here and only being able to attack once. But, like, you'll notice that these 2 blocks here aren't shaded, unlike every other block. And that's an indication that you can go through. And this is something that the game effectively teaches you, if you're smart enough to realize it, at the very beginning, because there's a block right at the entrance of the game that is, it's dark and it's unshaded. And if you step on it, you get squished. And so it does try to teach you. The problem is that nowadays, a lot of people probably don't think about it like that, because this was the old style of video game, you know? Like, people don't make games like this anymore. So the very idea that, like, you have to be super, super, like, watchful about every tiny little detail is kind of insane. That floor will crack. Here's a slightly annoying thing. You can't get off of this ladder to go to the right. But with the umbrella here, you can see I'm okay with the acid drips. They don't hurt me. Oh, I almost didn't make that. Ah! You do have to be very mindful of where the enemies are because they will kill you very quickly, very easily. And once I started to, like, figure this out, I started to go, oh, it's one of these games. Got it. Problem was I hadn't figured out this, the way that this game was designed, you know? Like, you'll see, this water doesn't move, which tells you that it's fake. And of course, now that you're down here, there's no way to go, so then you just start pushing up against things until you realize you can go through that wall. I probably should have gone back instead of going this way, but it is what it is. Nope. Well, I don't know that it's that some of the games are designed not to be beaten. It's more the case that they're mimicking older style of game. And it's just that you have to think like those older games. So, for example, if I come over here, I can buy the pin again. No, wait, I have to clear this room first. Otherwise, I don't have enough cash. Barbuta. But in the general, like, scope of things, I would honestly say that, like, the UFO 50 team doesn't expect the average player to beat 100% of every game to 100%. That they're, from what I've heard, their official stance is there's 50 games, play the ones you like, and if you really like a game, then try to cherry it. Otherwise, just play the ones that you end up liking and enjoy. And so not every game is really like you're not supposed to, like, even want to try to clear all 50 games or anything. So like, look at that. Death. That is quite literally the only way to do that, by the way, is to die there. But that gets me the blood sword, which is double damage. Not that it's going to matter too much, because I'm probably going to die. Like, there's no way that I'm going to finish this on one life. Case in point. But yeah. So, like, you start the game here, right? And if you look around, you'll notice that the tile directly in front of me, or the floor tile directly in front of me, isn't shaded. If I step there, you get squish. And so that right there is supposed to be your, like, tutorial. You know, watch for things that look even the slightest bit different. Because there's probably something there. Once you figure that out, then it's a matter of figuring out that you can go between screens. And that's what this room does. You know, you can see, like, okay, I can't get to that. So then you're like, well, what do I do? You know, it's like, okay, well, I can go down this ladder. But then I go down this ladder, and then I can't go anywhere. But there's just enough space on that other side that it looks like if you were to jump from here, you can make it to the other side. And that teaches you, like, yeah, you can utilize jumping between screens and things like that to reach areas you couldn't otherwise. That was cracked bricks, which of course tells me that I can attack that and break the bricks. And then, you know, we just sit here, we come down this ladder. And then when we come in here, we can see, you know, here's this square that has the green goop on it. And if you pay attention, you can see that that is an indication that there is the green goop, which is going to drip. And if you fall into the water, you die. And by this point, they expect that you have now figured out transparent, you know, non-shaded block does something. You go through that, and boom. Now you're in another room. You walk across. You open the chest. You get the umbrella. Logic would dictate that an umbrella does something. You can't use the items themselves. It's B or A. So then you try walking under here, you notice, oh, see, now I'm immune to the acid drips. Cool. So now I can come up here and I can get this chest. And thus we have cash. And I can come up here and be like, oh, I can't do anything here. There's these red blocks. So then we come back down here. But then you're thinking like, oh, hey, you know, first off, I can just drop straight down, easy. But then, of course, I can go down this way. And then, of course, I have immunity to the acid. So I don't have to worry about that. And, you know, you can see like, oh, hey, there's a chest here. But I can't get to it. So how would I get to it? Well, you come down here. Because it's the only way you can go. And you start going, okay, well, you know, what's here? I can see the acid drips. I can see the fish. And then when you come over here, you notice that this tile here is different from this tile. And thus you know that if you stand on that for too long, it starts to crack. So you have to be quick. And now you become aware that, you know, green brick means acid drip. So before the acid even drips, you already know that this is unsafe. And then we come up here. And I'm not even going to bother killing this fish. But once again, you've now understood that when things are different, that's an indication that you can do something there. And so, like, you come in here and you're like, oh, I can't do anything in here. So then you come out here and you notice, wait, this water is moving, that water is not. If you've been paying attention to where the rooms are, you also know that the chest is right over here. And thus, boom, I just got the chest. Now I have a necklace. How about that? Well, what does the necklace do? Well, that one's a little more complex to figure out. Actually, I didn't need the pin, now that I think about it, because it was the necklace that does the thing that I needed. Anyway, I think. Pretty sure. Whoops, I'm going the wrong way. Frick. Then we come over here. And, you know, there's very clearly skulls on those blocks. Well, if there's skulls on the blocks, that probably means death. So maybe don't touch those, you know? So then we start coming up here. We start looking. We don't see anything special here. So then we come up here. And we go, hey, jump over these. Do. Then you go in here, and then you realize, wait a minute, this is this area. Well, I couldn't jump up before. And thus, we get more cash. And then you realize, wait, I can jump back down here, and now we're here. Shortcut. Now you can get back. So now we want to go this way. And, you know, we've already figured out that we get squished here. So we would normally jump over that block. But since I activated it to kind of show. And then we can also note, wait a minute. There's this. There's cash. If you were to come here without the necklace, this red platform wouldn't be moving. And thus you would, when you get here with the necklace, you would realize, oh, the necklace causes these to move. Okay, cool. But then you realize, wait, there's crackable brick down here. So let's do that. This is the one that got me, like, this was wild. Now, unfortunately, I triggered that up there. Yeah, I triggered these blocks, so I can't actually finish crossing. But there's actually a doorway on the other side. There's actually a hidden door on the other side. If I hadn't activated the thing, I could have gotten over there. But games back then, you know, you didn't have guides. You sat down on a Saturday and played for 5 hours. And you made maps and you figured things out on your own. There weren't NPCs to tell you, hey, watch for this thing or watch for that thing. Whoops, okay. So I now I know that I jumped that too late. I really need the blood sword. And so here you've got these random 2 bricks that are on this blue thing. And so you think like, well, why are they off center? You know, why are there 2 on one side, none on the other? You push against it, and then turns out it's a switch. And you go, okay, well, so what's the blue? Well, you come down here and you realize, blue, right here. And that's what that was. That unlocked that. Jumping into the spikes, you respawn on this side, thus allowing you to then climb up here and get to the blood sword. Once you start to figure out how the game works and the way that it's designed, you very quickly start to understand what you're supposed to do. Because you go, oh, I see. It's like this. I got it. I shouldn't have gone off to the left there. Then you think about, you know, in old games like this, sometimes when you kill the enemies, you know, you cleared the screen, something would happen. There's a green skull up here indicating death. So what if we kill everything? Well, I end up freaking falling on top of the guy and dying. So that's unfortunate. Because I didn't wait long enough. I may have forgotten that was going to hit me when it, you know, passed by. But yeah, that's Barbuta. So, eventually you can figure out how to get through it. But it definitely is a game designed around, you know, taking your time and figuring it out slowly and, you know, bashing your head against the wall to try to figure everything out kind of thing. But again, that's kind of how games were designed back then as well. You just kind of brute forced everything until you got it right.